Good morning, everybody. My name is Brendan, and I'm with the Centre for the Study of Democracy, and thank you for joining this webinar. Today's lecture is about how to systematically collect open source information in a way that is reliable, transparent, and repeatable. This session will focus on three main things. First, we will try to achieve hard-to-find documents, particularly data sets and official records. Second, we'll look at documentation practices, which are essential if your research is funded or policy relevant. Third, we will try to establish repeat search workflows by using AI and automation tools. This is not a theoretical introduction to OSINT, as time is quite limited. Instead, this is a practical methodology session designed for researchers and policy analysts. The goal is that after this lecture, you will be able to have hands-on tools to collect data efficiently. Broadly speaking, there are two broad approaches for collecting online data. The first approach is what we call the cooperative and inquisitorial approach. This means platforms voluntarily provide data or are required to provide data through official channels. Examples including APIs, open data portals, and official transparency tools. These sources are usually reliable and structured. However, platforms control what you see. In some cases, we can see that actors we want to investigate might not be in the best of terms with official record-keeping institutions. So the access may be restricted, and some requests require approval. So then, most of the researcher will actually look into another approach, which is the adversarial approach. Here, the investigators collect data regardless whether the platform wants to provide it or not. This approach requires on publicly visible content. It often requires technical skills and manual work. It can be time consuming and it may involve legal considerations. However, it often reveals information that official channels do not provide. In practice, most investigation combine both approaches. Every investigation should start with a simple rule. Before searching, we should define three things: the actor, the activity, and the data trail. Without these three elements, OSINT research becomes unfocused. So for example, imagine we want to identify the beneficial owner of a company. We start with the company itself, then we look at public procurement data to understand what the company does. Next, we examine contract history to identify partners. Finally, we examine assets such as property ownership. This creates a structured roadmap for investigation. A clear roadmap prevents wasted time and improves data quality. Most high-quality investigations begin with data sets rather than articles. Spreadsheets allow sorting, filtering, and anomaly detection. They normally reveal patterns the narrative sources often don't include. These information could be included in government open data portals, procurement agencies, statistical offices, budget portals, regulatory authorities. Researchers often make the mistake of starting news articles. Instead, datasets should really come first. So one of the tools that we could use is the Boolean search. So, and Google remains one of the most powerful OSINT tools when used correctly. And if we use search operators structurally, it will allow us to find documents that are not easily visible. So these phrases such as site.gov or some other or XLS, you can designate the format of a file, and it allows you to locate specific spreadsheets and reports. So title searches help identify official documents. These techniques, they can reveal data set that are not linked to official portals. Public procurement data is one of the most valuable sources for government research. So typical workflow should look like this. Like first, you search for contracting authority. Second, you export contract notices, and then you identify repeated winners. And then you can look into the number of bidders, and then you can compare contract values. So if you see any repeated contract winners, that normally means market dominance or some sort of risk. Low numbers of bidder can indicate weak competition. So this is the kind of investigation you can use. So there are two free tools that are especially useful. There's the TED, Tender Electronic Daily, and there's Open Tender. Both of them are free. Now we're going to look into archived and deleted materials. Documents often disappear from official websites. Budget can be changed. Policies are revised. Reports can be removed. So archive websites allow us to recover these materials. Tools such as Web Archive and access to early versions of websites. Um, these can reveal policy changes and commitment. Archive materials are especially useful in long-term governance research. So you can use Archive Today, Wayback Machine, and the main benefits of using these two tools are the fact that they're third-party tool, especially Archive Today. They have no rights to edit the content inside. So whatever you you want to keep track of, you can pop a link in Archive Today, and it will be saved there. So if somebody question your research, if you download it yourself, then people can accuse you for modifying the content. And that's not the case of Archive Today because you cannot change it. So then now we are going to look into corporate registry analysis. Corporate registries allow us to identify ownership structures. This is probably the most powerful tool out here. Uh, Typical searches include company name, registry code, legal identifiers. Important information can include ownership, the entire structural map of the management, subsidiaries, numbers of employees, total revenue, turnover, etc., corporate groups. So these sources are normally included in local registries and commercial database. Unfortunately, they're more than often not free, but they're essential for mapping network of influence. And these are some examples, including Moody, Orbis, ucontrol.world, and C4ADS. But there are also local sources like these ones, and some of them are free. Now we can look into domain and internet data. So websites can also contain valuable investigative data. Important sources include visible pages such as contact and terms of use, domain registry records, DNS and IP data, archived content, reverse search. You can use reverse search for names and email addresses. You can press F12 to actually see the element of the website, and there are a lot of hidden information that you wouldn't know otherwise. Um, you can also use metadata analysis. So because of GDPR, these are becoming even more and more technical. But if you have a wide variety of sources that you could use, you so if you don't have a wide variety of source that you could use, you could utilize what you have by popping the data you have in, for instance, reverse image search in Yandex. TinEye is another good one. Um, Who is XML? But because of GDPR, these are getting more and more difficult. Here are some really, really useful tools. Some of them are free, some of them not. CrowdTangle, I think you need to actually apply for it uh, from Facebook. SEMrush is not free, but this one, for instance, free. Yandex is free. Yeah, obviously you could use AI as well. Every OSINT project should record its methodology. This includes search queries, database use, access date, and downloaded files. So if challenged, you can defend your methodology. So this is particularly important for donor-funded research. The documentation should include an internal source library normally, and you should also have a standardized methodology, sort of taxonomy. And you can use this to train staff to search data set first, and standardization ultimately improves institutional credibility. So now, as we mentioned in the session last time, automation tools can make OSINT research more efficient. They allow repeated workflows and large-scale data collection. They're particularly useful for scraping dataset and monitoring updates. So, for instance, here's a screenshot of the prompt that I put in. So, for instance, I decided to put in a prompt to keep track of von der Leyen's LinkedIn post. And if you have the premium version, unfortunately, this is not free. You can turn on the agent mode. The thing with the agent mode is that it's an automated tool that it will show you a little screen in the middle of the ChatGPT UI, and it's like a separate computer screen. You can log into your LinkedIn, and it will be like a personal assistant. It will keep track of your requests. Let's say if you want to keep track of von der Leyen's posts every Tuesday on 7 p.m. and you can write a prompt, you can write the exact prompt. It will log in to the account and does that for you. And then you can write another prompt and say, hey, please turn this into a XLS.XLS Excel sheet. And I want this to be a weekly process. They can set it all up for you and you won't have to worry about it. So to conclude, effective OSINT research depends on three principles: structured investigations, reliable data sources, and transparent documentation. These are the very basic tools that are widely available to most of the researchers. And if you follow these principles, your investigation will be a lot more efficient and defensible. So here I have some questions. I'm going to re-record it. So when searching procurement data, what are the most reliable indicators that a repeated contract winner deserves closer investigation rather than simply being an established supplier? And the answer is the first step is to look beyond the fact that a company wins repeatedly and focus on the pattern that's statistically and procedurally unusual. Warning signs may include consistently low number of bidders, especially if the same competitor appear each time. Another indicator is the contract value cluster just below threshold. That triggers stricter procedures. So they're constantly just under the limit where they can potentially be questioned further. Sudden growth in contract value without a clear expansion in business capacity can also justify closer scrutiny. It is also useful to compare the supplier success rate across different contracting authorities if these data are available. A company dominating contract with a single authority may warrant more attention than one winning across multiple institutions. Finally, procurement findings should be cross-checked with corporate registry data to understand ownership structure and possible connection with public officials. Question 2, if a document or dataset has been removed from an official website, how can you verify that an archive version is authentic and reliable enough to use in research? The first step is to confirm that the archive page corresponds to the original source by checking the URL structure, the institutional branding, and document metadata. So Web Archive timestamps should be recorded and compared across multiple archiving servers where possible, like the one we've mentioned, Archive Today and Wayback Machine. If the same document appears in more than one archive snapshot, this increases confidence that the material has not been altered. It is also useful to cross-reference the archive document with citations and reports, press releases, or earlier versions of the same website. Consistency in figures, document titles, and formatting provide additional reassurance. Finally, the archive link and access date should always be documented so that others can verify the source independently. So that will be all. Thank you for listening.